I'm going to cover in this segment a couple of interesting items in the news. The first one has to do with a somewhat innocuous statement made by Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. I'm going to quote him. "You know the best way to bring your inflation rate down? Move from a blue state to a red state." And he goes on to argue that the inflation rate in blue states is higher than those of red states. Now, this is a pretty benign observation. Of course, he's doing it in a wry way to rebut someone in the media who's trying to get him on the issue of prices. Because after all, what is inflation but the rising price level? So Bessent is going, hey, you're worried about high prices. Well, prices are lower in red states. Now, Nicholas Kristof, who is a columnist for the New York Times, does this rebuttal of Scott Bessent. Quote, "You know the best way to bring your life expectancy down? Move from a blue state to a red state. Red states have a life expectancy 2.2 years shorter than blue states." Now, this appears to be kind of a clever rebuttal or riposte, but in fact, if you think about it, it's a logical fallacy. It makes absolutely no sense. Why? Because if you move from one state to another, let's say you move from a red state to a blue state, what effect does it have on your life expectancy? Zero, right? If I'm a Texan and I move to, let's just say, Wisconsin, my life expectancy is going to be unchanged. But the prices that I pay for things, that's going to change. So I used to live in California, and California has very high prices across the board. Real estate in California costs, I would say, 1.5 times what it costs in Texas. That's a huge difference. Gas costs usually $2, maybe $2.50 per gallon more in California than it does in Texas. And this applies kind of across the board. Utilities, water costs a lot more. Food. Typically, I'd go into a grocery store in California, fill up my cart. It's going to be like $150. In Texas, the exact same, buy the exact same stuff, fill up the cart the exact same way with the exact same items, and it's like $90. So again, what I'm getting at is that Scott Bessent is right. There is a price difference. It's cheaper to live in Texas than California, and that's just a fact. The life expectancy thing is completely bogus because your life expectancy, by and large, obviously if there's differences in pollution and so on, there can be marginal impacts on life expectancy, but by and large, your life expectancy is going to be the same whether you move from a red state to a blue state or the other way around. When I first came to America around 1980, I had $500 in my pocket. That's it. Now, if I'd been really frugal and not spent a penny of that money, what do you think it would be worth now? What could it actually buy now compared to what it could buy in 1980? Well, the answer, less than $130. Now, why is that? Because the U.S. government, through the Fed, is constantly printing money and devaluing your money. When the government prints money, there's more money chasing the same amount of goods and services. So guess what? Money goes down in value. Money buys less. The Fed has been at it since 1913. That's why a dollar today can buy just what a few cents could buy in 1913. And the government continues to print oceans of money. It really never stops. Now, an ounce of gold reached a high of $850 in 1980. It's worth now around $3,900 an ounce. So historically over time, we see gold has gone up and up in value. Dollars have gone down and down. And what about in the last 12 months? Gold is up over 40%. I believe now is the time to find out how you can diversify your savings with gold and silver. And this is why I've partnered with Goldco. They offer the best customer service for precious metals ownership. They are also the only gold dealer that offers a first-time gold buyer rebate of up to 10% in bonus silver on qualified purchases. There's no better offer out there, so take advantage. To learn more about how to safeguard your savings from the dollar's decline, go to dineshgold.com. Very simple, easy to remember, dineshgold.com.